Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Generic Garage. On today's episode, we're back on the Festiva, trying to get the Shogun put together a little bit more. On the last episode, we got the rectangular tube put in as well as the main hoop put in. We drilled some holes for that main hoop, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the leftover metal, and I've already drilled out those holes to fit these nuts, and we're gonna put these caps on the ends of these tubes that we had bent. So the first step of this is to weld the nuts into these little washer looking pieces, and once those are done, we're gonna stick them on here and weld them onto the ends of the tubes. That'll help us capture the bolts that are gonna run up through the back part of the subframe there. Once we get the nuts welded onto those tubes, we need to shorten the other side of the tube and then cope the tube so that we capture the 75-degree angle up there of the main hoop, and we also capture the degree in which the rear supports are coming in at an angle. So that's kind of like a double angle cope. It's gonna be a little tricky to do, but hopefully we can get that knocked out. So let's get started. Taking a break here just for a minute to say we've got the tube notcher working, and I managed to cut one of the cross tubes here. I ended up having to get a new camera the other day when I was doing those time lapses of the welds. Hopefully you can see it here. Some of the splatter from the welds managed to get on my lens here, and I didn't find out until afterwards that you can simply twist those off and buy another one and twist it back on. But we have a new GoPro now, so maybe the video quality will get a little bit better. We'll find out. It has this forward-facing screen on it, which is pretty nice. Is it touch screen? Nope, only from the back. Anyways, so we have a new camera. Video might change just a little bit. Hopefully the quality gets a little bit better. I'm gonna continue cutting more of the straight tubes and putting notches in everything, getting everything level so that we're just about ready to tack everything up. quick time out here. Last week I uploaded the video for episode 3. Adam Hennessy left us a comment. Adam, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. He told us that relative to the vertical face of the floor pan here, these bushing holes for the subframe at their center need to be 3 1/8 inches away from that vertical face. Now, looking at what we got right now, we have about 2 inches to the center of that bolt hole. So essentially this whole entire frame subframe combo that we've welded up here needs to move back 1 1/8 inch. The only thing I was worried about is, do we have enough clearance at the rear? I had added on some metal right here to make this a nice flat plane so that we could take a small piece of tubing, weld it here, and weld it to the body on both sides. So as long as I have at least some space here, yeah, it's like 3 inches to the center of the tube. So we can move the entire subframe back 1 1/8 inch. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to try to maintain the original geometry of the original Shogun as much as possible. So by moving that back, it affects our wheelbase front to back. So the center of that wheel to the center of this wheel will move back a bit and give us a bigger distance between the wheels. So we're gonna cut the welds, the little tack welds on the rectangular tube, and move the entire frame assembly back 1 1/8 inch. And then we'll continue on with our fabrication on the roll cage and hopefully get everything welded up and in place. And we'll make some little tubes for here and over there. And that should be enough to kind of hold it in place from now. After that, we'll go ahead and start working on those plates that are gonna go there and on the inside over here. And that should be strong enough to hold the roll cage in for now the way it sits. And then I think we're gonna put some of the parts, maybe the engine transmission and A-arm, back on this thing and see where our shock locations are gonna line up so we can get the triangulation tubes run down to where the shock mounts are gonna be. So let's get back to work on that. Okay, so a bunch of welding later. I have all the tubes welded up with the exception of a few places. I made those plates, I got those welded in, and now I just wanted to see if everything was still gonna line up and if we were gonna run into any issues with the motor inside the back of the Festiva. So as it sits right now, everything's looking okay except for one small issue. Everything is slightly off just a bit. I need to take the motor and turn it that way and it'll be just fine. But there is one thing in our way. There's this little like gas strut thing that I guess dampens the vibrations from the motor when you step on it, and the motor likes to twist. But we're gonna have to remove that little shock dampener bracket thing. And here, I'll show you what it looks like from under the car. It's a little dark, so I'm sorry about that. I could have grabbed the light before I got down here. But essentially, this bracket right here runs all the way down to the motor mount with 2 bolts. And this is like a little shock absorber or a gas strut of some sort. So while I'd like to maintain it, clearly it's hitting our rectangular tube, part of our frame right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this, and then we should be able to just rotate the motor over a bit. And hopefully everything else clears okay. We're really, really close on the AC compressor lines up here, and I'd like to maintain air conditioning. If we end up having to notch the tube or do something wacky, I guess we'll go down that road, but it honestly only needs to come forward on this left side just a little bit, probably like 1 inch. And I think it's that bracket that's getting in the way. So let me remove that real quick, and then we'll try to bolt it all back in. Well, it's in. We got the motor in finally. I let the lift back down. It's sitting on the front 2 tires and some jack stands on the rear. I forgot how short this car is and how small it actually is. It kind of looks goofy the way it's sitting right now. I wanted to let the back down a little bit more, but yeah, we'll just have to wait until we can get some wheels on it. So for right now, the engine is sitting in here. It's looking pretty good. Everything's nice and level. I don't know if the engine's supposed to be perfectly flat like that. I think it's supposed to be rotated slightly forward, but I guess we're gonna run with it the way it is. If need be in the future, we can cut these pipes in the back, shorten them up a bit, and that'll let the whole thing kind of roll forward. I don't really want to have to do that, but it's not that difficult to do if we have to do that. We just gotta cut the tubes, create some new little plates, put some new nuts in there, weld it all back up. And if we cut it too short, we can always add some spacers in there. Hindsight being 2020, I probably should have left them a little bit shorter than they are. But as of right now, everything's looking great. Everything fits. Here's the car with the front on the ground. Looks a little ridiculous with the back all the way jacked up like that, but still pretty cool. Huge milestone. So now that that's in there, the next part of this, we need to get the A-arms put back in, put the steering rack in. The steering rack's gonna be temporary for now, but I need some way to kind of align everything in here, so that'll be useful for that. At some point, we'll weld some brackets and we'll make some tie rods, and that way the rear is adjustable. But as soon as those are in, I need to create these plates that come over here, but I didn't know quite where to put them because I didn't know where the suspension was gonna go. So when we get all that put back in, we'll be able to see exactly where the shocks are supposed to go when they're straight up and down. And then we can create a plate from here over to here, and our shock can mount up into that plate. And then I think with that, we need to find some 16-inch rims and some tires. I'm gonna try to look for some of those. And I don't know that they're actually gonna fit in there. We may end up cutting that. But again, that's another reason to get this put back in here so that we have a center point, and then we can use that center point to draw an arch around the wheel arch here. And then we can cut that as need be. We have a 5-lug pattern on the back and a 4-lug in the front. There is some research to be done on that. I think I can convert these to 4-lug, or maybe try to find a way to convert the fronts to 5-lug. I've been looking online and I was trying to figure out how everybody else had done it. Yeah, I think what they had done was they had gotten another spindle and then drilled it for 4-lug, but I think those are on 108 spacing and the fronts are on 100. Anyways, I gotta figure all that out so we can get some rims and tires ordered for this thing. As soon as we get those plates in, I'll know exactly where to make the triangular bar that's gonna go in here. It'll attach somewhere here and go all the way up to the hoop up top. I didn't want to put that in yet until I knew where the shocks were gonna go, but essentially the bottom of that triangular tube will line up with the shock and then just go up to the top there somewhere like we have in the CAD model. So lots of work to do next time on the next episode. As for today, I'm gonna go ahead and call this one a wrap. Huge progress. We finally got the motor in the car, the tube's all welded up, everything's looking good so far. If you made it to the end of the video, I really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. I'd really appreciate that too. Until next time, y'all stay safe. Have a great day. Bye.